Hello, welcome to the Craig's Motel. My name's Conan. So it's finally here. They got it out before the end of May, like they said they would. The desktop software for MPC3. It's here. It's arrived. It's downloadable. Let's jump in. Okay, so I was DJing last night and I got the email from Akai saying that the software was here. Obviously, I couldn't do anything because I was in the middle of DJing. So I was very, very excited because I'm excited like everybody else because I want to see where it's going to go, what they're going to do next, you know, how it's going to progress, what it's going to look like in the software. Sorry, my glasses just keep steaming up. So I got up very, very early, didn't even shave, as you can see. And I really needed to shave this morning because I've got a couple of big gigs this weekend and I've got a documentary that I'm shooting on Sunday. So I'm supposed to look a little bit, you know, presentable. But anyway, didn't shave, too excited, went online, downloaded, and basically today, this video is totally unscripted and it's quite impromptu. Obviously, I've done a little bit of planning because you have to when you make a video. And what I'm going to do is, first things first, it's an opinion piece, okay? Obviously, if you watch my channel, you'll know that I do a lot of tutorials, but I do also do reviews. This is a review, but the thing about reviews is they're opinions. You look at a product and you give your opinion on it. So it's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with my opinion. I'm seeing a lot of posts recently on forums about opinions, complaints, bashing, people saying this, people saying that. Bolo did a live broadcast on it the other day. So it's obviously, you know, it's a topic that people were talking about. And I said this to Bolo, you know, this is nothing that I haven't said. I'm not saying it behind his back. I've said it to him, that my personal opinion on it is if people want to bash, if people want to complain, if people want to express their opinions, just let them. It's their opinion. You don't have to agree with it. What you think of a product or what you think of something is what you think of it. You don't have to agree with what somebody else thinks about it, and you don't have to convince them to agree with you. So just express your opinions. If you want to bash it, bash it. If you love it, then you love it. But don't worry about what other people think, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Really long bit there. Probably you could just skip it if you wanted. But you can't because I've just said you could skip it if you wanted after I've said it all. So anyway, this is an opinion piece. I'm going to quickly go through what you have to do to install it because I've seen quite a lot of people say they're having problems installing or it's not available on their account, etc. Could be that it's just not available on their account, but I'm going to go through the process that I went through when I installed it. And then we'll look at it. We'll take a look and I'll give my opinions on it, my thoughts, which you don't have to agree with. And yeah, let's jump in. I've said that once already, but I'm saying it again. Let's jump in. So first things first, if you go to the Akai website and you click on account over here, it's going to take you into your account screen. I'm going to have to blur out all my serial numbers on, I've just realized. So once you're in there, if you then click on see all product registrations, this will come up. If you scroll down to some of your hardware, well, not necessarily, I don't think you have to actually do that, but if you click on view downloads, it will show you what downloads you have available. So first thing you want to do if you're using MPC standalone is you want to update the firmware. So make sure you update to 3.5. I think you have to do that for it to work with the software. Fairly certain that is the case. So make sure that you update. I use the USB method. You can use whatever method you want. Then if you scroll down, you'll come to the software downloads. Here you have your desktop software and it will tell you what is in the beta, which is how I pronounce it. And it will tell you these things here, basically, that it's a beta, it's early bird, and it's not finished. And we'll go into that in a moment. But it does tell you the things that it's added. It's added VST3 support, which I know a lot of people have been asking for. They haven't changed the time signatures thing. As you can see here, that's still something that's not been done. They haven't set. But I'm not going to go into it too much here because we'll go into it when we actually open it. But anyway, basically you download the software. Here's your PC installer. And then you will be asked to get serial. Obviously, my serial number, I've already pressed the button, so it's here. So that's obviously blurred out because I don't want you to see what my serial number is. And you download it and you install it. So next thing is, do you need to uninstall the MPC 2.15 version of your software? No, you don't. They can run alongside. You can keep your old MPC software and you can install the new version. And when you install the new version, you will have a nice icon that says MPC3. If it's on your taskbar, it won't. So we'll double click on this and we'll open it. When you first open it, it's going to ask you for your serial number. I've already put that in, so I don't need to. We'll just go to new project. And here we go. It's opened a new project. Now, obviously here, this is just the software. I'm not going into standalone just for now. We'll go into that in a second. So before we jump into, okay, look, first things first, GUI, different, darker. I like dark. To be honest with you, on every single one of my doors, I change it to dark. Ableton, Studio One, all of them changes to dark. So me personally, in my own personal opinion, I approve of the GUI update. Looking at it, there's not an awful lot of difference. Obviously, you can see that there are slight differences and they're similar to the MPC standalone new firmware 3. So you can see there's a couple of little changes here and there, but basically the setup is the same. Everything else is the same here. You know, all this kind of stuff. It's all pretty much the same. Not much difference. We'll talk about the big things. We're not going to go into like the small GUI changes. Obviously, they're going to make some GUI changes. And my personal opinion is that it looks pretty decent. Like I said, it's dark and I like it. So we will go into the VST3 things. Now, first things first, what you need to do is when you first open it, you're going to need to rescan all your plugins, or at least I had to anyway. So you're going to need to choose your folders, which you do here, and then you'll need to rescan all. Now, first things first, the VST3 thing. Now, whilst they have VST3 support, it clearly doesn't support every single VST3. And there's some quite major problems that I had. Firstly, I had to go through the scan process about 5 or 6 times. It kept failing. It crashed a few times. Look, it's a beta. I guess that happens. So I had to go through that process a few times. But the big thing for me was none of my Waves plugins, or virtually none of them. There was like 2 or 3 that it scanned and it said okay, but the Wave shells, it just failed. Failed. I did it again, it failed. I've got the latest Waves plugins, and they work on every other door without any issues whatsoever. So I don't know whether that's just me, my computer, or whether it is an issue. See, this is going to be a recurring thing throughout, because there are so many variables on PCs and Macs that obviously Akai and every other software company in the world can't cover every single variable. So there are issues. But what I will say, so that I don't have to repeat myself, although I probably will say this a few times, is whilst I'm having issues with certain things with the Akai software, those same issues do not exist in any of my other doors. And on my computer, I have Ableton 11 and 12, Harrison 9, 10, 11, Studio One 6 and 7, RX 11, and SoundForge, and Adobe Audition. I don't have any of the problems which I'm about to show you in any of those doors. Also, when I scan my plugins, I don't have time to go and make a cup of coffee and walk the dog, which I did. And I came back and it was still scanning. Now, you know, that's not really a big deal, but I don't know, in this world nowadays, everyone wants everything straight away, and Studio One, Presonus, Ableton, etc., they seem to have worked out a way to scan plugins really, really quickly. So I can maybe make a cup of coffee. but I can't walk the dog. So it took ages, and it took about 5 or 6 goes at it, and it still didn't scan everything. And there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of fails. I'm not going to go into every single plugin, but like I said, big problem with Waves. Plugin Alliance, I think pretty much all of them were okay. I'm talking about the big people here. Sound Toys was okay. But I'm still on VST2 for Sound Toys, and I'm not going to go into the reason for that. But, well, basically, I can go into the reason for it. I seem to have a lot of issues with VST3 Sound Toys on my PC, so VST2s work absolutely fine. So the Sound Toys work fine. Arturia, most of those seem to be okay. Other big companies, Korg keyboards, problem. Roland keyboards, most of those seem to be okay. So I'll show you in a second. So anyway, I scanned the plugins, all done, and first off, we'll go into our inserts, for instance. Okay. Oh no, obviously all of the plugins from Akai work absolutely fine. But if I want to go into my VST3s, and for instance, let's go into Plugin Alliance. And let's open AMEC 200, for instance. Okay, that loads absolutely fine. No problem. There doesn't seem to be any problem with scaling. That's all good. By the way, at the top here, you can have this arrow. If you have it pointing upwards, it keeps the plugin on top, and you don't have to keep reopening the plugin all the time. So there were no issues at all, and it works absolutely fine as well. There weren't any issues with Plugin Alliance. Those VST3 plugins worked absolutely fine. And that's great because I use Plugin Alliance a lot. And this is a personal thing, obviously, because, you know, if you don't use Plugin Alliance, you don't care whether Plugin Alliance works. So it's going to be a personal thing for all of you. Okay, another company that I use a lot is Universal Audio. So, I mean, you know, the 1176 Universal Audio compressor, you know, loads of people use it. Okay. It does annoy me a little bit that when you change the plugin, it doesn't come up straight away. You have to double click on it. Okay. Issue. This is a recurring issue with a lot of VST3 plugins. I couldn't find any VST2 plugins. Now, look, I just want you to bear in mind that this is my test laptop that I'm using here, that I'm recording with OBS. And so there's 4,000 plus VSTs on here, VST2s, VST3s. So I haven't gone through every single one, and it's not my job to, so I'm not going to. Well, I suppose, is it our job? Because we're the beta testers now, so perhaps it is. Perhaps I should go through every single one of my plugins. But UAD, this is a big issue for me because I use their plugins on a daily basis, as I do Waves. Waves don't even scan. UAD scan, and this does work. If I run a signal through it, I can adjust the attack and I can adjust the input and the output and some of the ratios. But I tried various different methods to change things, to get it to fit, and nothing worked. I use a 4K monitor, so I changed the scaling on that. Didn't work. Changed the scaling in the settings in Windows. Didn't work. Try to look if there are any scaling settings in the software. If there are, please tell me. I can't find them. So I can't say whether that works or not. Opened and closed. I'm going to be honest. I didn't uninstall and reinstall all my UAD plugins because why should I? The same with Waves. Why should I completely uninstall my Waves and reinstall? So that might work. Who knows? But I don't see why I should have to do that because these plugins work fine with every other DAW on my computer. So this is an issue. Okay. Now, I don't know whether this is an issue with my computer, whether it's human error on my behalf, whether it's to do with the NVIDIA driver. I've got the latest NVIDIA driver, so perhaps the latest NVIDIA driver is not compatible with the Akai software, but you'd think it would be. It could be the plugin company's fault, or it could be Akai's fault. So I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm just pointing out that there are issues. Click to view plugin. Okay, yeah, I'm clicking this. Nothing. Okay, so just to let you know, I've tried multiple different ways of trying to get that to work. And that is the case with all of the UAD. These are the X ones, so these are the native ones that they do. Again, you know, this is no good to me at all. No good. I can't use that. So that's unfortunate. And if we now look at plugins, okay, so the plugins from Akai work absolutely fine. I mean, that looks great on my 4K monitor. Looks great, sounds great, all amazing, love it. So if we want to change this, well, let's try a VST2 first. Let's try a D16. Let's try a D16 punch box. Okay, obviously that's quite small on my 4K monitor. I can't remember whether there are options in here to change it. You can't resize it by dragging, unfortunately, but that's to do with the plugin. That's not to do with Akai. So that works okay. And all of the VST2 plugins that I tried for my VST instruments, they worked absolutely fine. Punchbox, really, really good, by the way. Kick designer, basically. Really nice. So let's go into Arturia. Let's pick out a VST3 at random. We'll go with the ARPs at the top there. Why not? It seems to load up the VST instruments really, really quickly, which is nice. So let's open that up. Sorry, just press once. So with this, easy to rescale, no problems there at all. I haven't tried every single one of my Arturia instruments, but they work. It sounds great, obviously. And more importantly, because look, it starts at the very beginning, you need to be able to see what you're doing. So I can see what I'm doing on this and it works absolutely fine. Okay, right. Now that's Arturia. Big thing for me, I use Arturia a lot. Another company that I use a lot is Korg. So let's look at the Korg ARP Odyssey, for instance. Although the problem that I'm going to show you right now exists on all of the Korg instruments. So let's load the ARP Odyssey again. It's loaded it nice and quick. Let's click on there. Issue. Same issue again. I can't click and drag this to rescale and then pull it out again. I tried the scaling thing on my monitor and in Windows, and same problem. So, and look what happens. I can actually change the view in here. That doesn't do anything at all. Compact size, again, no different. But that's to do with the plugin, this size, these options here for the sizes and stuff. But there's no way to resize it or to get it to resize in any way. Now, it does work. These work. If I was to hit a key, that does work. But I can only access those controls that I can see. So that's no good to me again as well. So overall, there are definitely some issues with the VST3. And I'm not the only person that said that. I've heard other content creators who have made videos so far about the new software. I've seen them say the same. Well, they haven't said the same thing as me. All they actually said was that there does seem to be an issue with some VST3s. So I don't know exactly what issues they were having, but there are definitely issues. So it's quite a big thing, the VST3 thing. We've all been asking for it for a long time, and it's a big selling point that the new software, I mean, I can't believe it's 2025 and they've only just got VST3 support. But okay, no big deal. Doesn't matter. We're not gonna diss them for that. Okay, so the next thing is obviously the next thing we want to know about is the new arranger window. Well, it's no different. It's exactly the same. This big new arranger window, it doesn't exist in the software. And I'll open the MPC in a minute in controller mode, and I'll show you the way that you have to work, the workaround as such, I guess. But I don't know. My opinion on this is, I mean, we'll get to my full opinion on it, but at the end. But basically, the arranger, this new arranger window that we have on the standalone was a big selling point. And so therefore, to release the software without that unique selling point, USP, not too sure it was a good idea, frankly. It's kind of like Toyota releasing their latest car. You buy it, you get in it, you sit down, and they say, yeah, everything works apart from the GPS. GPS doesn't work, but it will work in an update at some point. We can't tell you when, sorry. you know, it's not great, in my opinion. In my opinion. So there's a bit of a disappointment, you know, more than anything. It's not me saying, Akai, you're crap. It's me saying I'm a bit disappointed because I was kind of hoping to get the new software and it be like the standalone at the very least. You know, at the very least, you expect it to be like the standalone. What you do expect is it to have better time stretch algorithms because it's the software, and we know that that is the case already. Warping, all that kind of stuff, because your computer's more powerful, processing speed's better, etc. So you've got all those things. And it does say there's some better time stretching algorithms, I think, in the release. But and you expect that. But what I would say that you expect is the software on your computer, your super fast laptop or desktop, for it to be at least as good as the standalone software, which is, you know, well, we know what the RAM and the processing speed is of the standalone MPCs. So at the very least, you'd expect it to be as good. But it isn't. They haven't got the arranger. Right, so what we're going to do now is got my MPC One. I've got it right in front of me, and my monitor is up against that as well. So it's very easy to have to look at my MPC and my monitor at the same time, which is great. And you'll see why in a moment. So if you go into menu and we go into controller mode, and you can see pretty quickly that loaded up. So that's good. It loads up quickly. We like that. And, you know, you can still access things on your MPC, which is also nice. And one thing I will say that I've just noticed is this is different. This is not how I have my preferences normally set up. So I double click on grid, yeah, and if I go to arrangement, I have the arrangement window on the MPC, the new arrangement window, but that isn't on the software. So, and they do say that. They do actually say, well, they sort of say it. So they sort of say that it's not going to be on there. So that will be coming in an update, as will time signatures and the MIDI note off. One thing I have noticed in the update to the firmware on the MPC standalone is I'm not really sure what they've done, whether they've actually addressed any bugs. All I know is that they've made it so that you can, it's compatible with the software. So I don't know if there's really any bug fixes. Although, to be honest with you, I didn't dig deep. So there might be a change log somewhere. And if there is, then I apologize. But, you know, I mean, apart from that, it just kind of all looks the same. So, yeah, I mean, ultimately, that is quite a big disappointment, isn't it? Because, okay, so workaround. Okay, so this is the workaround. The workaround is obviously that you can edit MIDI on the grid the same way that you always could in the software, which is actually a lot quicker to do in the software than it is on your MPC standalone. And if you want to look at the arranger window, you can look at it on your MPC. So if you've got an MPC standalone and you're in controller mode and you're connected to your computer and you've got the software, then that's brilliant. Well, it's sort of brilliant because I would still like it on the software on my computer, obviously. Now, I haven't deep dived into this. Obviously, it came out last night and I haven't deep dived? Is that even an expression? Deep dove. I dived. Anyway, so there could be other issues as well, but I wanted to touch on the main things that I noticed straight away when I got up early this morning and I installed it. And the arranger window. Okay, look, I'll tell you what, let's sum up. Let's sum up. Okay. Like I said at the very, very beginning, this is just my opinion. And you don't have to agree with it. And I'm not complaining and I'm not bashing and I'm not dissing or whatever words you want to say. It's just my opinion. It's a review. And in a review, you highlight the pros and you highlight the cons. The pros. Now I can run MPC3 software in my standalone, and I can run it at the same time on my computer, and they can work together. And it's actually pretty nice. I'm sat here now looking at this. I've got the arranger window open on my MPC standalone, and I've got the software open in front of me. And it's actually, it's decent. It's a nice little setup. It works okay. I like it. VST3, it works most of the time. So, you know, it would be impossible for Akai to say, we have now got VST3 support and every single VST3 plugin in the universe works in our software, because every single DAW that I use has an issue here and there with some plugins. It just does. You know, or Adobe Audition, for instance, or at least Adobe Audition on my computer, sometimes, for instance, doesn't want to open a particular plugin alliance plugin that I use sometimes. It's a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. So there are, like I said, there are so many variables in PCs and Macs and everyone's different computers that there is bound to be little issues here and there. And those issues do exist in my other DAWs, Ableton, etc., all the ones I listed earlier on. They do exist, but not to this extent. This is, you know, when you promise people VST3 support and some of the major company plugins, which I would consider Korg, if you play synths a lot, is quite a big company. And I would definitely consider Waves to be a big company. Now look, Waves plugins might work absolutely fine on your computer, but they don't work fine on mine. And if you want me to be frank, I couldn't give a shit whether they work on your computer. They don't work on mine. So therefore, that's an issue for me, because I use Waves plugins every day and I have done for over 20 years. So to have a DAW that doesn't work with my Waves plugins, it is a bit of an issue, and it's a bit of a turn off, and I'm not going to jump on that DAW when I've got loads of other DAWs on my computer that work absolutely fine. Studio One is the DAW that I tend to use most of the time. That's my main DAW. I do use Ableton sometimes and Harrison Mix Bus as well. But Studio One, that opens my Waves plugins. So what am I going to do? Am I going to go for the Akai software, or am I going to go for Presonus Studio One? Like I said, this is a personal thing. So Waves might open for you absolutely fine, but it doesn't for me. And you know, and Korg doesn't either. So those graphic issues, and it appears to be that they are just issues with the graphics, and that could be multiple things. It could be the drivers on my computer. It could just be my computer. It could be the monitor that I'm using. Actually, no, it's not the monitor I'm using, because I've got 3 monitors plugged into this laptop and none of them work properly with those plugins. So that would be, you know, I'm not a massive computer expert, but you would think therefore that it's not the monitors, it's probably the drivers, or it's a graphical issue with the Akai software. And it could just be that they're not compatible with every single VST3 plugin yet, which is, you know, I get that. That's fine. You know, it is a beta, like they said, but, and here's where I'm going to get to the nitty gritty. And this might be controversial. Well, actually, no, it's not controversial. It's just my opinion. I don't understand. Look, okay, I know Akai said that they were going to release it by a certain time. Firstly, I think that was an error. You shoot yourself in the foot. You're setting yourself up for problems, because Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong. If you set yourself up to release by a certain date, every software company knows this. You don't set an exact date. And if there's going to be an issue, how many if you're into gaming, how many gaming companies will say release Q1 2025, and then into like 2 or 3 weeks into Q1, they change and say Q2. And it's not a big deal. You're a little bit disappointed, but it's not a big deal. What they wouldn't do is release an unfinished game. Now, I get the whole beta testing thing. I get that. And that's fair enough. But I don't know. I mean, it's okay. I beta test for quite a few plugin companies and some hardware companies as well, and some major plugin companies. In fact, 2 of the biggest plugin companies I beta test for. And the level of where the Akai software is wouldn't have even got to me. And because I'm just a beta tester, there's people that test it before it gets to me. It wouldn't have even got to me if it was for one of these other companies that I work for. It's a skeleton. It's just not ready. And what I don't understand is why Akai didn't just say that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to let you down, but it's just not ready. We're nearly at beta stage, and we want you to be the beta testers. They should have me working for their marketing department. Just get some kind of, like, you can get some hype going about it. You can get some excitement going about it by actually delaying it. Sorry, guys, it's not quite ready yet, and we want you to be the beta testers, but get it to the point. Look, there's going to be people out there, and this is no disrespect to anybody whatsoever, that they don't know very much about software. They're total newbies, and maybe they've just bought an MPC standalone and they've got the free software with it, and they download this software. They're not going to know what the fuck is going on, because basically they're just going to be sat there thinking beta. For starters, they might not even know what beta testing means. Again, no disrespect. These are new people I'm talking about. And the first bit of software that they download to put on their computer to go in tandem with their standalone is just doesn't work properly in some elements. Where's the arranger window? Why doesn't some of my VST3 plugins work? And that's just what I found out this morning. No doubt there's going to be a whole load of other bugs. So it just doesn't make sense to me that Akai would do this, that they would put it out. Why not just delay it? It's not a big deal. It's not ready. We can't release it. Like I said earlier on, imagine that you bought a brand new, I'm using Toyota as an example, but any other car, most of them come with GPS now. You need GPS to see where you're going. Okay, you don't need it. We didn't need it 20 or so years ago, but it's expected, is it? You certainly wouldn't buy a car that said it had GPS, and then when you go to drive it out, the guy goes, "Oh, by the way, sorry, GPS doesn't work in any of the cars." And but it will come in an update. When is the update? No, I don't know. I'm not sure. It will come in an update. It just doesn't make good sense. I hope that this doesn't do more damage to Akai's reputation. That, let's be honest, it's not in the best place in the world. And look, I'm not knocking the standalone. I'm not knocking the hardware, because I love MPC. I love Akai, and I've been using MPCs since 1989, and I've lost count of how many tracks I've made on them, and I will continue to make tracks on them. And that's why I almost feel like part of a family, and I'm like looking at, like, say my brother, say Akai's my brother, and he's doing something, he's making his mistakes, and I'm like, going, no, please don't do that. Please, you're going to look a fool. People are not going to like it. I mean, not that it really matters, I suppose, at the end of the day, whether people like it or not. But I guess if you're a business, you want people to like your product, and you want to have a good reputation, and you want to be trusted. Most importantly, build trust in your customers. And right now, look, I've seen some content creators this morning release videos saying that the new software is awesome, is amazing, is brilliant. And I'm really happy that they feel that way about it. And that's their opinion. And I disagree, because I don't think it's awesome. I think it's pretty terrible. I think it needed a load more work before it even got to the beta stage. And that's my opinion. And I'm sorry, Akai, but I think you dropped the ball on this one. I think you've made an error. I think you should have just waited. I mean, you haven't even got the firmware right on the standalones either. So now you've got two platforms, sort of. One of them's in beta stage. The other one, they say it's not in beta stage, but in my opinion, it still is in beta stage. And you're not fast on hot fixes, and it doesn't seem like you're even listening to the community sometimes. I mean, how long does it take to work out time signatures? I'm not a coder. I don't know. But how long does it take to work out to put something into a program that was already there to start with? I mean, it's madness. Really, it is. So sorry, Akai. I will not be endorsing this software. Of course, I will be leaving it on my computer, and I will be continuing to test it. And any problems I find, I will be relaying to Akai, and hopefully I'll help. And hopefully other people will do the same, and they won't just bitch about it, complain about it. They will actually proactively do something to make it better. When Akai released this as a beta build, they're saying to us, we need your help, I guess. And if you look at it in a positive way, that's a good thing, because they're reaching out to the community and saying, we need your help to get this right. So try and think about it positively, and maybe don't jump on them and bash it. I mean, I've just sat here and bashed them, but I think my criticisms are founded. I think they're not just me sat here saying, I think it's crap. I think I've explained why I think that they should have waited a little bit longer. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope some of the things that I've highlighted in this today will help you. And please, 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 if you find bugs in it, tell Akai about it. Don't just put it on a Facebook forum. Put it on a Facebook forum by all means, but tell Akai about it. Let them know what the problem is. Give them as much information as possible, and then we can maybe get this right by the year 2030. This is the Crates Motel. My name's Conan. Till next time.